What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another tier list video. Been a minute since we've done one of these, so I decided to do a fun one with a couple of guests. Welcome back, Matt, to another tier list. You just joined me on the Call of Duty one not too long ago, but
I did.
we have a new guest, probably new to the channel, because I know that he's been on my other channel, but is Dylan filling
Hello.
in for a third opinion on the we're doing Counter-Strike knives tier list. We're not really taking into account like the finishes of the knives or the skins or anything like that. This is just the knives themselves. I mean, maybe we'll have some personal bias for some of them because of some skins, but I think it won't really matter that much in our overall rating.
This is all based on preference with the look of the knife and how clean the animations are in the eye of the beholder.
I agree. I think that works. So we'll just dive right in here. These are in alphabetical order placed here. I figured that's the easiest way to do it. So we're going to start with the regular Bayonet. So how are we feeling about the Bayonet? Personally, I like it. I think it's a good...
It's a classic for sure.
Yeah.
A-tier.
It's a classic. It looks good. I know we're not really talking about finishes, but honestly, with most finishes, it looks good.
I would say
It's the medium
probably
A-tier.
A-tier. Yeah, I mean, the animations are pretty cool. It doesn't have a rare inspect or anything, but it's still good. The knife is huge on your screen, so all the patterns look great.
It's
The
just a
long
good-looking knife.
Yeah.
The flip it does, the long blade, you can play with it a little bit. It's a great knife. A-tier for the Bayonet.
I
would
agree.
say-
Are we all cool with A tier for the Bayo?
100%.
Yeah.
It's
I
a
would be
clean...
upset if it went anywhere
Yeah,
else.
it's a clean knife. It's you pull one and you're excited, right? Like it's just like, oh fuck yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to be sad if I got a bayonet, unless
Yeah.
it's like a rust coat or something disgusting.
Yeah, I
But
mean,
even still.
it's just a clean knife. So all right, moving on to the Bowie knife. How do we feel? My perspective on the Bowie has kind of changed because I think the update they did earlier this year by adding the second hand, I think that makes it look better in my opinion.
That changed it.
Yeah,
100%.
I think that
I
helped
think
it.
it's a good knife. I think that the animations are okay. Personally, I think it's kind of like a worse version of the bayonet. Like, it's cool,
yeah.
but I think it should go B tier. Or maybe
I-
bottom of A.
I completely agree with B-tier.
I'm thinking B for Bowie. I think B for Bowie makes sense.
Yeah. It's a cool knife.
The thing with the Bowie, the pull-out sound, amazing. The shink,
Yes.
amazing. The animation is good. The knife is fat, but there's nothing special about it.
That's exactly how I feel. Like, it's kind of like the M9 or the regular Bayo in the size and how good the skins look, but it's just not... It doesn't have that, like...
It doesn't have that oomph,
Yeah.
It doesn't have the sauce, but it's a good knife. If you pull one, you're like, okay, fuck yeah, Bowie, cool. But it's not. It's definitely not on the level of a bayonet. But I think B tier for the Bowie helps a lot. I think it was C tier before the hand. Honestly, I think that helps a lot. That just makes the look overall better.
Yeah, it looked weird when you didn't have the other hand.
So
No, B-tier for the Bowie is perfect. It's good at a lot of things, but it's a master of nothing.
that's the perfect way to put it. All right, probably the most famous knife in the game? Question mark? Maybe.
Agreed.
I mean,
I don't know. Karambit's pretty...
Karambit's
up there.
pretty up there, but I mean, the butterfly is pretty fucking iconic. It's kind of hard to not think about.
No.
Like, when you think of Counter-Strike knives, I feel like most of the time this knife goes into your mind first.
Can I be honest? I think the
honest.
butterfly is a little overhyped. I think if they add another knife that has similar animations to it, it would absolutely tank in value. Not tank, but it would not be as hype. I think it's cool, but most skins that look good on other knives, like the Bayo and the Bowie, for example, don't look as good on the butterfly. You kind of really have to have a really nice, like a fade or a Doppler or something like that. You can't get away with running like a, I don't know, like the blue DD Pat. What's that one called?
Oh,
I know what you're talking about.
Like you can't get those look good on the Bowie and stuff, but they don't look good on the butterfly. So I still think it's iconic. The animations are insane, and so it's obviously gotta go S personally. But
is
I
it the
still
best
think
in
it's
the
overhyped.
game? I don't think it
No.
is. I don't think it is.
There's one number one knife on this list for me. I know what it
Mhm.
is. We'll get there when we get there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dude,
I think
I agree. The butterfly is a little overhyped. But to counter that point, even with the less desired finishes, the two little bulges on the handle, they change color with every finish. So that that's a perk where like the gut knife, the handle never changes. The Talon, the Karambit, the handle
But
never
other
changes.
ones like the Falchion, the handle changes. The flip knife that has the little buttons on it that change. So
Yeah,
there's other
but-
ones that have stuff like that.
I don't know. The butterfly just does it differently for me.
It definitely does it differently, and it varies from every finish too. Like even different
Personally,
phases.
I think it's the animations that really set the butterfly
100%.
I mean, there's no other knife like it in terms of animations.
But if they add like
100%.
a balisong or something that's a little bit different, like it would not be as crazy.
I
You
think
know what
I
mean?
disagree that the butterfly would go down in value if they added something similar because it's stature and it's just iconic. Like I don't think
it would go down. I was the wrong way to put it. It was more like it would lose some of its hype.
Well, it's also the hardest
with
to
the-
get.
Like
Yeah,
what
that
happened with
is
the
true.
Karambit when the Talon came out, the Karambit was like along with the butterfly was like one of the craziest knives, and then the Talon came out, and it's still really cool, and we'll get to that later, but it kind of lost some of its hype, if that makes sense.
I can
Now
see
there's
what you're
two
saying.
knives that are
I can
very
see what
similar.
you're saying. But are we all? I still think it deserves
S
S
tier.
tier because it's
S
just
tier.
it's the
100%.
butterfly.
It's not
So
going to be top of S tier, but it's S tier.
yeah, I agree. All right, moving on to the classic knife. From the only way you can pull this is by opening CS20s. Funny enough,
We have a two-time.
yeah, we have
classic
a
knife
two-time back-to-back CS20 classic
I
opener.
did
here.
have this. I had a nice slaughter. It was really cool. I'll be honest though, unless you're really into the classic knife, the animations are kinda okay. It does have a rare inspect, I think, or a rare pullout animation or something like that. Yeah, it's a rare pullout. And it's kind of cool, but it's not that great. I think it should either be B or C. The only thing I like about it is that it's the only knife where if you have a pattern on it that's like well worn, it still looks good. It doesn't look all scratched up or whatever because
Yeah.
it just has the CS whatever that edge is on it. It just like makes that show up more. So like my slaughter was factory new, but if I had a well worn one, it would just have a different edge. It wouldn't look all fucked up, and that's why maybe
I
it
didn't
should
know
go
that's how
B.
it worked. I
Yeah.
thought, wow, that's actually kind of nice, except for the fact that I just don't think I feel like the little edges kind of bring it down. They only work, in my opinion, with certain skins. Like people can pull a blue gem one of these, but it just doesn't look that good. You know what I mean? I think this is a perfect. It's not a bad knife by any means. I think it's a perfect middle of the road knife. My vote is C tier.
I vote C tier. It's cool. It's from 1.6. The animations are classic. I don't think it's anything special, personally. I don't dislike it, but I don't like it.
It needs to go in more cases with other finishes too. The
I don't
fact that
think
you
that
can
would
only get it
save
from one, but
Like you said, the edges.
you're right though.
Like
Yeah,
imagine a classic knife with a Doppler finish. It just would not look right.
I think you're right. Yeah.
So I don't know. Yeah.
All right, we
This
got
one
2
is
votes
a-
for C. What do you think, Matt?
I think C is good.
He's biased.
Yeah, I think C is good.
All right, well we'll put a classic C tier. We arrive to the Falchion knife, which, while I'm thinking about it, I mean, we have a bunch of Falchion knives in our collections, but I don't think any of us have ever actually pulled one. Right?
That was my first knife I ever unboxed, and I traded it for a gut knife Doppler way back in the day, like 2015.
Wow.
It was like a Phase 4 Doppler. and that was a case hardened Falchion, and it had a little bit of blue on it, nothing crazy. I traded it for the gut knife plus some keys. At the time, you could trade for keys.
I
Tells you
forgot
how long
about
ago
that.
that was. So,
Only real
But-
people know that.
yeah, facts. I'm biased. I have a Falchion
Yeah,
right now.
I think
have a
this is the
Falchion.
perfect
I like the
poor
Falcon.
man's cool knife, right?
Yeah,
Because they're
I
they're
love-
relatively cheap, but they look good.
The pullout animation is cool. The inspect animation and the rare inspect pops up. I feel like the rare inspect on the Falchion, where you hold it on the end of it,
Hmm.
happens more often than any other rare inspect on any other knife. I love this knife, and I know it's probably not going to get an A tier, so I'm going to be honest and say it's a B tier knife, even though in
That's
my
what
heart,
had.
I was
even though
thinking,
in my heart
yeah,
it goes A tier. I know it's going to go B.
it has
Falchion.
really clean animations.
But
It's a
I
good
think-
budget knife.
Yeah, and the fact that a lot of the skins change the handle.
Yep.
So, like, it's black on a lot of skins, except for I have a lore, so the handle's green. Or if you get a Doppler, the Doppler goes all the way down, the whole thing, on the handle too. Like, that looks sick. So, I think it should go ahead of the Bowie, but it should stay in B. I'm
Well,
gonna be
so
honest.
so here's what we'll do. We're not gonna put anything ahead of anything right now. We'll
We'll do that at the end.
do that at the end. So for
Okay,
now,
okay.
I agree.
but I think we all are in the same boat that the Falchion is B tier. It has clean animations. It's a clean looking knife. Most finishes look really good on it, and it's
Yeah.
It's just a great budget knife. It's a
In
great
my
knife.
heart, it's A,
to get.
but it's realistically a B knife.
Yeah.
Falchion is an amazing knife.
Yeah.
I really like it.
All right, now we arrive to apparently my favorite knife, according to my unbox history, and that is the flip knife.
Yeah, you almost got a fire and ice.
I did. I personally like the Marble Fade better than the Doppler I have, but it's still clean. I mean, I don't really have any bias towards it. I think it's a solid knife. I don't think there's anything like particularly wrong with it. It looks clean when you pull it out. But it doesn't really have anything in terms of animations or anything like that, so it's nothing special.
Well, I don't know. That you say that about animations, but I think it has one of the best pull-out animations in the game.
That is
Agreed.
yeah,
way
that
you
is true.
Flip it out is sick. Now it makes no sense because the knife is like
Much
twice
bigger
as
than the
long as
handle. yeah.
so it doesn't work.
Yeah,
'cause
like
the knife
it
is
like sticks out
hanging way off the end. But I love it. I love that the pull-out animation is nice. I wish, honestly, I think it would be a better version of the Falchion if it had a cooler inspect or something like that, like a rare or
Yeah.
I don't know. But I think it also is a B. I think it's a high B though. Like it's really solid.
You think high B? I was thinking just B, like just a
Not as
perfect
high-
B tier
well,
knife.
I
like you
actually
said.
disagree. I think it's A.
You think it's
Really?
A?
What would be
Wow.
your argument for that?
It's so clean. There's nothing wrong with it. It's a good looking knife. The animation is solid. I just think it's an A tier knife, personally.
I mean,
Man, A tier
I-
for the
I-
flip?
I think the flip goes above the other knives in B. I think it knocks into the A category. Like I said, personally, I think it's A. I don't know. There's nothing I dislike about the knife.
I kind of agree. The only thing I don't like is, like the Falchion changes color on the handle, the flip knife does not. The flip knife also
It doesn't
you
have
know,
the
it has
cool
the
animations that the Falchion
cool
has.
inspect. It's really like. Don't get me wrong. I think it has one of the best blades on any knife. Like the point to it,
Yeah,
it's
no,
super clean.
It's a
But I can't give it A. I just can't. Not with the Bowie being in there. It's not on par with that.
I think I'm more in line with Wally here, Dylan. I mean, maybe we can like we'll
We
rank
can
it in
agree
the
to
tier
disagree.
later.
I
Yeah.
personally think the flip is A. I
That's
am a flip
fine.
knife enjoyer.
Maybe we'll move it
I've
later.
never owned one.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Put it
I
in
was
B.
between a flip and a Falchion when I got my knife. So,
Really?
yeah, if that tells you anything, it's definitely in there. I love it.
I love the knife, but here I'm really hope I don't unbox one ever again. There's some other knives I need to
You've
get
unboxed,
first.
Like 3, right?
I'm not just 2, but I mean,
Oh, okay.
the thing is, in the case that it sits in, it's not the worst knife actually.
No,
It's the
but it's
it's the second worst, but it's stacked up with bangers. So it's
Yeah.
hard when you pull it. You're like, oh, it's a flip, but then you realize it could have been something else. You're like, ooh. But
yeah.
all right. Well, actually, the one it sits next to in that case is the gut knife. I think the gut knife is
It's
slept
overhated.
on. It's way overhated.
It's overhated. All the hate towards the gut knife needs to go towards that ugly ass Navaja down the line there. Okay,
Well, we'll get to that when we get to it.
we'll get
but
to that
yeah.
later. But listen, the gut knife is the pull-out animation is fucking sick, dude.
Yeah.
The way you flip it out and it like spins in your hand is
Mhm.
so good. I love the gut knife. I think it's way overhated.
I like how big the blade is. Like, it's a
it
fat
looks
blade.
really good. The handle does change with a couple skins, I believe.
It's not as
Doesn't
much
it?
as like anything like the Falchion, but it does change with some like lore changes and
Yeah, and I know like the Boreal, you don't want the Boreal, but the Boreal, it's a green
Yeah,
handle
yeah.
as well, something like that. So it's sick. I love the gut
Now,
knife.
that being said,
It's a C knife.
it's a C knife. Yeah. I think it's
I would put it in D.
Really?
I think it's
That's
better
just
than
me.
what the knives would be in D tier. I think it's
Here's my argument. The gut knife has the same animation as the Huntsman, and the Huntsman does it way better.
That's true.
it's fair.
That is true.
So
It does.
that's my only thing. I like I said, I agree with you guys. Gut
You
knife
know-
gets too much hate.
It does get too much hate, but I kind of agree with what you just said. I do think maybe it could be a D tier knife. And that sucks because the man recording this video has probably the best gut knife you can get.
A
Fucking
yes,
Black
a
Pearl. So
Which looks really good.
it's fire.
It looks
It's
really
so
good.
clean.
I mean, but Matt's right. It is probably the best you can get, but it's not that valuable.
No, I mean,
So-
I don't think.
and
the
I
gut knife
understand
ever
why
came
it's
case hardened,
not-
right?
Huh?
Did the gut knife ever come with a case hardened?
Well, yeah,
I don't think it did.
every single knife has the case hardened finish.
But my
But-
I
point
don't even
of
remember
arguing it
seeing
into
one.
D tier is you had to ask if it came in case hardened.
That's facts.
You
yeah,
know what I
Like,
mean?
I don't know if
I
I've
never
ever even
see it.
seen
Yeah,
one. That's
I
why
never
I'm
see it.
asking that question.
Like
You know what? I was kind of
like
I was
the
kind of
knife.
content with middle of the road C, but I think you guys have talked me into D. It's a high D though.
It's
Yeah.
definitely overhated.
If anything
Yeah.
else goes
I
in
like
D,
the
it's the highest one.
Yeah.
I like the gut knife. It's just not worth being middle of the road.
There's a
Mhm.
reason it's so cheap. Like if you want
Yeah.
any really like any skin, but you want it on a cheap knife that isn't some of the really shit ones, then it's that
It's
one.
the perfect knife for that purpose. I agree.
Yeah, you
Which
say the Falchion's
my
the
case in
perfect
point.
poor man's knife. Like that's the poor man nice knife. The gut knife is like the poor man's knife where you can get a good pattern on it.
Yeah. I agree. All right, moving on to the Huntsman knife. We have a couple of Huntsman pulls in our history. I think Tony's the first one that pulled a Huntsman among. I think that was his first knife,
Yeah,
actually.
you got an autotronic.
Yeah, and then he pulled the fucking Ruby after that. But anyway, but we have a recent Huntsman pulley here.
Yes,
So we'll ask him first what his opinion is on the Huntsman knife.
I really like the gut knife. Or, I'm sorry, the Huntsman knife. The animation is the same as the gut, but the blade, the handle, everything is so much better. The little
Mhm.
screws on it,
Yeah.
it's so good.
I feel like it's a premium Bowie knife.
I was literally going to say, I feel like it's a better
Yes.
Bowie.
yeah.
For me, if I had to rank it, it's going to go in A.
I am kind of thinking A tier as well. It's a solid knife.
I feel like A or B could be either or for me. But it is the only knife, I guess, besides the Paracord that's like super. Well, I guess the Ursus too, but it's super like angular.
It's 3D.
Yeah,
The model is 3D.
Mm.
it's a very square knife. I don't know. I love the Huntsman. I wish the case wasn't like $15.
Yeah, but
And I know
this
it's
thing sits in like other
I
cases
know it's
too.
in other cases too.
Yeah.
But I always end up getting, everybody always gets them getting like Shadow Daggers or something. You know what I mean? So
Here's the thing is, even the gut knife versus the Huntsman, even though with the same animation, the Huntsman is 3D. There's layers to the blade.
Yeah,
and it's big, dude. It's like
It's a
almost
fat-
M9 size.
that's why I kind
so-
of think it's like a premium Bowie. I'm down for A tier. It's a
I'm
solid
okay with A
knife.
tier.
A tier.
Yeah, 100%.
So,
I'm
all right,
okay
cool.
with that.
It's a great knife. It's a great knife.
Yeah, I think a lot of patterns look really good on the Huntsman.
All right. I'm assuming that we don't really need to talk about this one that much.
No, this is, in my opinion, this is the best CS knife. I know there's going to be another knife coming up here that Dylan's going to say is the best CS knife, and I think it's close between the two. But personally, for me, this is the most iconic CS knife. This thing is fucking goated. S tier, 100%.
S tier Karambit all the way.
There's no argument. There's
most finishes, even the shit tier finishes, look good on this thing. So
it is so good. Everything about it, the animations, the way it looks, all of it. It's perfect. It's the perfect knife.
Any controversial opinion on the Karambit, Mr. Dillon?
I have my own number one, but the Karambit deserves S tier.
All right. Then we will slap it up in S tier. No conversation needed. I mean, it's pretty much universally agreed.
Yeah.
Moving on to the newest knife in Counter-Strike as of the recording of this video, and that is the Kukri knife.
We know we said the Huntsman is like a better Bowie. This is like a worse
Bowie. This is a worse Bowie. I agree.
Yeah.
It's not a shit tier knife by any means. I think it's a cool knife and has pretty cool animations. But
it's the same as the Bowie, I think, animations.
No, it's a little different.
No, it's different,
Yeah, it is. Well, I don't know. You can spin them around like a dick, so I don't know.
This one, it pulls from the bottom.
That's true. Yeah, you're right. The Bowie, you pull out like a sword.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I really like the Kukri.
I don't think it's bad.
Animations.
I do too. I definitely don't think it's a bad knife. In my opinion, if I were to put this somewhere, I think it's a C tier knife.
Yeah, I was gonna say B or C.
Yeah,
I don't think
it's gonna say B or C.
I don't think it's amazing knife at all, but most patterns look pretty good on it.
I think maybe down the road, if it ever comes out with better finishes, it could really
different finishes.
Yeah.
I don't know about better because the fade and the case art are.
I mean, yeah, they're great, but even the fades for these things now are like $700. Like they're cheap. Like they've gone way down.
Yeah, but I think that also is because the kilowatt case is high in drop rate right now.
That's
so more
fair.
people are probably opening them.
That's fair. I think C tier. I think it sits next to the classic knife in terms of just how it is. It's not a bad knife by any means, but
that could change once they come out with Dopplers and shit. That could change.
So are we cool with C?
Yeah.
Yes.
All right. C tier for the Kukri. All right. Another knife that we probably don't need to talk about too much.
This is also
the best knife in Counter-Strike.
This is close with the Karambit for me, but I think equally as iconic. It's just it's like a sword when you pull it out. The animations are incredible. It's like takes up your whole fucking screen.
It's the gold standard for big bladed knives.
It is so sick. I mean, it's just incredible. The only downside to it, to me, is, and it's the same with the Karambit, is you have to get such a low float to have a perfect M9 and a Karambit. Like the Karambit has that little corner.
Mm-hmm.
The M9 has those scratches around the hole in it. You have to get a super low float for it to be perfect. But damn, do they look good.
Yeah.
Gotta be S.
This is the number one knife in Counter-Strike for me.
It's a fucking... If I'm praying one day, because I think this is one of the rare knives that none of us have pulled. So, combining all of our pulls, none of us have pulled an M9 yet. Tony's pulled a Karambit, which he got rid of for some reason. But the M9, one of these days, one of us is going to pull this knife, and that's going to be hype as shit.
Yeah,
like, I don't care if it's a Rusco.
Like the Karambit, even the kind of shitty finishes look good on this knife.
Most it's just because it's such a badass looking knife, dude.
It's just it's a big beefy knife. It's perfect.
Yeah. You flop it out, dude. When you pull that thing out, you flop it out.
Yeah.
I love it.
Now jumping from a top tier knife to a shit tier knife, and that
I don't think anyone can argue this is the
Navaja.
It's just so
Matt, let's
little.
talk to the Navaja enjoyer in this call, who seems to
2 or 3 of them now.
He's opened a really rare patterned case hardened.
A tier 1 blue gem on it, right? So
tier 2, but yes.
Tier 2, okay.
It's a fucking double-sided blue gem, like
scar pattern.
But it's just so dinky and little. Like it's like the reverse of the flip knife to me. The handle is like it's so ugly looking, and it doesn't change with any skin you have. So I've seen some rubies on it, and I mean any ruby or sapphire or whatever looks good on any knife, but the Nava, it's got to be the worst knife. It's got to be
Yeah.
F, right?
I mean, I think we're all pretty much in
I mean, we
agreement.
have to put something in F.
Dylan literally has the best version of this knife, like, out there. One of,
Besides a
anyway.
gem.
I mean,
Yeah.
Yeah. But
Unfortunately, you guys are spitting bars.
it's...
I like the Navaja. I think the little click it does when you pull it out, I like it's a two-hand animation.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, it's too small.
There's other knives that have two-hand animations, and that one is not it.
Yeah.
Speaking of two-hand
Speaking of
animations,
two-hand, how to do it right. The Nomad knife. I personally fucking love this knife. I think this is a great, in the same vein as like the Flip or the Falchion or even the Bowie. Just a cool knife. When you pull one, it's super cool. The handle is sick. The animations are really sick on this knife. And I'm a little bit biased because it's the first knife that I ever pulled was a Nomad knife.
That's true. I forgot about that.
It was a case hardened with no blue on it.
Yeah, it was like a gold gem.
Yeah.
Honestly, I really like it. I think though.
I think B tier. I think it's a perfect.
I really like the Nomad. I'd put it in A.
I could see an argument for A. Honestly, I was between B or A.
I don't think the Nomad is comparable to any of the knives in B, but I think it can knock at the knives in A tier.
I think out of all the Flip style knives, it's probably my favorite one.
Yeah, me too.
The only reason I went with a Falchion over a Nomad is because the Nomads are about twice the price. So
that's true.
The Nomads, yeah.
You know what?
Like this.
Y'all want to put it in A?
Bowie,
yeah.
I mean, there's no competing.
I'll fucking put it in A. It's a fucking badass knife.
Yeah, I like it a lot. And then once it comes out with the different finishes, if they ever have a Doppler on this thing,
dude,
wee man, holy shit!
You might be seeing like a bigger like price increase.
That
on
is
this
the
thing.
knife for me.
Yeah. All right. Fuck yeah. We'll put the Nomad in A. I love the Nomad. I didn't think y'all would want to put it that high, so that's what I was kind of thinking B. So
A tier easy.
I was between A or B. I could see an argument for both. I'll be real.
All right, moving on to the Paracord. It sits in the same case as the Nomad knife, and it's probably the worst knife in that case.
I might be opinion. No, the survival knife I think is worse.
Really?
Because the blade, at least on the Paracord, is kind of nice, but I'm like top 5 biggest Paracord haters, and so I think it's a D tier knife. I fucking hate this knife.
I think is exactly where I'd put it.
I was thinking D as well.
The animations are disgusting. Most skins on it look bad. It's just it's so mid. It's the middest mid knife, but the knives that are in mid are better than that.
Yeah.
So people are probably gonna ask for at least C, and fuck them. This knife sucks. You're just mad.
I'm honestly shocked that you're not fighting for F tier, but I think it's a D tier.
No,
knife.
I think F tier stands alone with the Navaja. It's just
no. I see 2 potential knives remaining.
No, actually, I don't know about 2, but
2.
Let's go ahead and move on to the one that we're talking about.
Okay, so yeah, Dylan unboxed probably the worst possible knife you could get, and that's these Rustcoat Battle Scarred. That's pretty bad.
Yeah.
That being said, these knives have, in my opinion, the coolest pullout sound. They're like shink, and they sound so cool. I kind of like them in a weird way. I would never want a set of Shadow Daggers or butt plugs, whatever you like to call them, but they can't go any higher than D.
I mean, I'm thinking F.
I'm thinking F. Yeah.
Yeah, that's just there's never a time when you pull this knife that you're like, oh yeah. It's every time you see it, you're like, oh come on. It's like, God damn it.
Don't get me wrong. Like I said, I don't want a pair, but for all the Shadow Dagger lovers out there, I would put them in D. I don't think I could put them in C. That would be a little bit of a stretch, but they'll go in F.
The only redeemable factor of Shadow Daggers is there a great knife or a combo with gloves.
That's true.
Sure,
That's
yeah.
true. I've seen some really dope combos with those Shadow Daggers.
Yeah.
So
But-
that's the only redeemable factor. The knife is, or the pull-out sound is really good. Only
I like
second
the
best to
insect
the Bowie.
animation too. Even though there's not a rare one or whatever, I like that you flip them up and you look at them both. It's kind of cool. It's the only knife where you get two.
It's gimmicky.
It's
Yeah, but
gimmicky.
I feel like it has to be like that.
I'm
because
just
there's
making
two.
my argument for why I think maybe they should go in D, but I'm not gonna fight it. They can go in F.
What do you think, Dylan? We're thinking F.
I agree with that, yeah.
All right. I mean, you're the one that's pulled them, so I'll give you final say on the Shadow Daggers. We are
Yes.
moving on to the skeleton knife, which I think this knife fucks. I really, really like this knife.
Me too.
I think it's a very unique knife where it's more like a traditional knife in its blade, but it has inspect animations similar to the Talon and Karambit because you spin it around and shit. Even though that's the rare animation,
I just love the handle. Looks sick. It's unlike any other.
it's like a better version of the Paracord.
Yeah. And it's just a clean knife. It's a cool fucking knife. I like the little holes down by the big hole. It's just a fucking cool knife.
Yeah, you like
I-
those holes.
Yeah, absolutely.
The fade on the skeleton looks crazy.
Yeah, but
Especially when you
imagine
have a
this
full
thing with
fade.
any Doppler or a marble fade or a fucking even a tiger tooth like that.
Don't get me wrong, I agree. It would look sick, but
Just
can't
the
play into that being
animations
the
and the
case.
blade, though.
Yeah.
A tier, easy.
yeah,
I'm
it's
thinking
not
A
S.
tier.
Those 3 and S are just untouchable. They're not.
Yeah, there's no other knife on this list that would.
They can
knock
add
them out.
any knife to the game, any pattern to the game. It won't fucking matter. Those 3 are untouchable. Those are the goats. Those are the Mount Rushmore of CS knives.
Well, we
If
need one
that's
more to
Mount
have
Rushmore
4.
had only
Those
3.
three are the Messi, the Ronaldo, and the whoever else. Because I don't watch that.
Yeah, they're LeBron, Michael Jordan, and whoever else.
But
Yeah.
I agree. It's an
A
A
tier
tier
easy.
knife. It's a cool fucking knife. I think this
Yeah.
knife is slick. It is cool. It's another knife that none of us have pulled yet.
I would
true.
I would love a fucking skeleton. man.
I would love a
I
skeleton.
would tweak out if I pulled a skeleton knife.
Yeah.
I would hit the fentanyl lean.
All right, moving on to the stiletto knife. I think Dylan, you've pulled a couple of these, haven't you?
I pulled an ultraviolet.
You've also pulled a.
Didn't you get a white urban mask?
Oh,
yeah.
you're right.
Yeah,
Actually,
no,
yeah.
that was a legendary pull.
Yeah, that was a special case opening.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
I think Tony's pulled one of these too.
He had a Damascus steel.
That's
yeah.
right.
did?
Yeah.
There's been a couple Solidos. I forgot about that.
Yeah. But I like it. I fuck with it. I don't think
This
it's like
is
a
a different
banger knife,
knife.
but it's so different. It's kind of unique. Like, I think it's cool.
The only issue I have with this knife is the blade is so little. It's similar problem with the Navaja, although it's not anywhere near down in that tier, where a lot of the patterns just don't look as good.
They don't pop.
Or show up- yeah, they just don't
I
pop
can
as
agree
well.
with that.
But it still looks sweet. Like, especially the gems on the stiletto look amazing. So
And I like the animations.
yeah,
A lot of people
Animation,
don't, but I
the
like them.
sound,
Yeah.
The sound it
yeah,
makes,
the
little tick.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's super cool. I could see A or B for the other one. I'll let you guys decide on
A
which
tier
one.
for
but-
me.
You think A? I was thinking B.
A tier for me, personally.
Because I don't think it's quite as good as the 4 we have in A right now. But it's
If
a
it
good
goes
knife.
A, it's probably going to be the bottom of A. So
I mean, that's
I
fine.
mean-
this is an A tier knife for me, even if it's
I'm-
at the bottom.
Alright, Matt,
I'm
you-
okay with it being an A.
I
Honestly,
think
it's
this-
a pretty base knife.
It
The
is.
stiletto compared to the Bowie, I mean, come on. The stiletto.
That's
is
fair.
stiletto.
That's
true,
fair.
that's true.
That's fair. Yeah. You know what?
And I love
You're
when the rare inspect or whatever, where you like flip it around in your hand. Like that's nice too. So I'll take that.
All right, moving on to the survival knife.
F.
Yeah. Let's just get straight to it. I'd rather have shadow daggers than this. This
That's
knife.
real.
This knife is.
I like the Navaja more than this knife. This knife
I
is
almost
Okay,
would
that's
say that.
crazy. That is a
I don't know if I
crazy
could say
statement.
that only because the blade is so much better. Like if you got a good finish on that blade,
The
I
blade
think it would
is
look-
better, but the animation,
are terrible
Yeah.
you
animations.
literally, Literally, even your character, bro, he holds it with like 3 fingers, where he doesn't even want to touch the knife.
It's true, and honestly, the blade shape is like a 3-year-old drew it, like my nephew.
Yeah,
shit.
that's fair.
So
It's horrible. I think this is.
it's
I would rather
disgusting.
have both of the other F tier knives than the survival knife. I think the survival knife is the worst knife in Counter
It's
Strike.
neck and neck with the Navaja for me, but I would much rather have Shadow Daggers than this knife. I hate whenever I see somebody with a survival knife. It
I
actually tilts
wonder
me.
what they're doing. Yeah, I wonder what they're doing.
They
Okay,
had
my-
to have unboxed it. No
Sell it.
way somebody would pay money for one of these.
Sell it and get an AK like Aquamarine Satrack.
Yeah,
Like,
just
you're
sell it
so much
and
better
put
off.
your money into crypto or something. Like, do anything.
Literally, a shitcoin is better than the survival.
Yeah, yeah. Put your money in a little pump coin.
All right. Well, looks like I don't really have to say much about it. For me, this thing sits like next to the Paracord, but I originally wanted the Paracord in F, so I'm fine with this thing in F.
The survival knife is literally drawn in MS Paint. Like, it's so bad.
It's bad, and I mean, like I said, the Navaja, like I'm not gonna like glaze the Navaja, but at least it clicks when you pull it out, bro. And at least when you inspect the Shadow Daggers, it goes shink. The
Yeah.
survival knife has nothing, bro. There's nothing going for that knife.
His argument is making me say it is the worst knife. It is so. I hate this thing. We can stop hating on it, but fuck the survival knife.
If you own a
unbox one of
survival knife,
these,
sell it.
yeah, get rid of it now for
Yeah,
anything else.
It is better that, or just catch in
Anything.
for it.
Hate
All
it.
right, moving on to the Talon. I think I am the only one that's pulled one of these, if I'm
Yeah,
correct. This is
I've owned one. I didn't pull it.
Yeah. I have a little bit of bias, but I think this is a solid. It's not as good as a Karambit, but it's fucking cool. It's
Yeah,
a cool
it's
fucking
kinda
knife.
Goes crazy.
yeah. It's kind of like how the Kukri is a worse Bayo. This is a worse Karambit. I think that it's really cool. I wish the handle changed color depending on some of the finishes.
I mean, it does.
Does it? Which ones does
Yeah.
it change for?
Crimson,
Oh, the Crimson Web.
Crimson
you're
Web.
right.
It goes
Yeah, it's
black, and it goes purple for ultraviolet.
There was a period where it was bugged, and the Crimson Web was the handle. Had,
Yeah, that was
is-
sick. Dude,
Yeah, that
I'm
was
so
sick.
upset.
They should have kept that.
Yeah, man. I
That
forgot
was-
about that. That was right when CS2 came out.
Yeah, if they would have kept that, honestly, it maybe would go up a little bit. But even still, the problem, besides that it's a worse Karambit for me, is the amount of times I see motherfuckers not having their gun out and just sitting there spinning their Talon knife like a fidget spinner in the back.
That was me
Dylan-
when I owned one.
Dylan was a problem with it. Everybody has one as a
I don't
problem
think
with
that's like a knife problem, though. Like, just
Dude,
people with animations
The
of
only
knives.
other people with that issue
it. It's
are
butterfly.
butterfly owners.
Yeah. So,
I don't know. I love the ivory handle though.
Yeah, I
love
do
it.
too.
It
I think
looks
it's a cool
certain-
handle.
Everyone-
certain patterns, it looks
Everyone
really nice.
watching this video, take a moment, look at your screen. What other knife has an ivory handle? It's beautiful. It's elegant.
Yeah. I think
A.
this is an A tier
Easy
knife.
A tier.
Yeah.
Easy A.
Okay,
I
I'm
can
glad
see
we all
argument for
agree.
S.
I'm glad we
but
all agree for A. For
It's
the Talon.
not
It's
the
just not
Karambit
on.
in S. It diminishes all of the good things about the Talon.
All right, moving on to
nope.
the final knife as of recording this video, and that is the Ursus knife. I think we've pulled a fair number of these between us.
Yeah.
Dylan, this is your first knife, right? You pulled a vanilla,
My
a
first
statty
knife.
vanilla. Tony
Yeah.
obviously pulled the ruby finish on this
We
thing.
probably have somebody
Um,
that pulled the best finish you could probably get on it.
I pulled
Maybe besides the blue gem.
I pulled a stain one of these, and then I think Dylan, you got a crimson web, right?
Crimson Web, yeah.
Yeah. So we've pulled this knife 4 times. So
Did the Crimson Web have a black handle?
yes, it did.
Yeah.
Okay.
It always does.
Yeah, I haven't.
Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't seen a lot of. This is a knife you don't see very often, so that's why I asked that.
I
think
think
it's
that
really
this
good.
it's a cool knife. I
But
think
like
that
I
it's in the same
not
vein.
special.
It's not special. Yeah.
I think, like I said, how the pullout animation for the Talon is kind of janky. The inspec for this one is kind of janky, where you flip it between your fingers. I
Mhm.
feel like that animation is like 30 FPS. I don't. Maybe I'm tripping, but
It's just that your character's just a little slow when he does it.
Yeah.
You
If
know
it
what I
was a
mean?
little
It's little
faster, it'd be
slow.
smoother. Yeah.
it's a cool knife, and I think if you like the blade and everything about it, like there's nothing wrong with it. It's just nothing special.
It's
So I
it's
think-
not a poor man's knife. Like, it's a knife where if you want some really cool finishes, you're pumping out like a little bit, but it still would look pretty good. But
Yeah.
I think that this thing sits in the same vein as like the flip knife or the Falchion.
Yeah.
So I think it's a
Easy.
B
I would
tier.
say
Sure.
B or C, personally. I think it could be C as well.
I don't think it's that.
If you guys both say B, then we can put a B.
I think it's B. It's better than the classic. It's better than the Kukri.
Yeah, I agree.
But
I could see,
it's
yeah.
not special.
I could see only because it has the rare, yeah.
So all right,
But it
we've
has
got
nothing special.
here's all of the knives placed in the tier list. Now let's edit them in the order of worst to best. Let's start at F.
from- Yeah,
I don't think we need to change this.
swap the Shadow Daggers in the Navaja.
See, I disagree, but it's
I
two
think the
versus
Shadow
one.
Daggers are better than the
I
Navaja.
agree.
You can, like we said, you can make good combos. The sound when you pull it out is cool.
Yeah.
The Navaja only has the click when you pull it out, as Dylan keeps saying.
Mm-hmm.
Fuck the survival knife. We've been over that. That thing stays
Yeah,
at the bottom.
horrible
Worst
knife.
knife in the game. Navaja's close though for me, and yeah, Shadow Daggers are the butt plugs. Nobody wants those.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
But I think this is good for the F tier. Now the D tier, I don't think we need to move. I think
I agree.
I think this is correct.
I feel like people are gonna hate on us for putting the Paracord in D tier, but it's just like
Hate on us
So
for putting it
mid.
that low.
yeah, because
See, I
the blade is
disagree.
clean and whatever, and it's
You're
so
tripping,
mid,
bro.
man. I
You're
think it should
tripping if
stay
you
there.
think it's-
Yeah, I think it should stay. I think we're all in
Yeah,
agreement on
I
that.
think
but
it's fine.
I think there's a lot of people, aka brokies, that that like that knife, but it should stay there. And the
Yeah.
gut knife is just a cooler. It has better animations. It's just cooler. It's overhated.
Yeah. I think the Kukri is better than the classic.
Agreed.
Agreed.
All right, so we'll move that. Now moving on to B tier. Now let's think about this.
For me, it's where it needs to be.
Really?
Yeah. I would not move that.
I think the flip knife could go ahead of the Falchion.
I was
Okay.
almost gonna say
You could make a
flip could go
case.
at the top of B, but
If the flip knife goes to the top, then the Bowie moves down behind the Falchion. Because I personally, but I'm biased, I have a Falchion. I think that the Falchion's just better than the Bowie. I think just because the handle changes with so many patterns, the animations are cooler.
sounds like we kind of agree that these two knives are better than the Bowie anyway. All right, well,
Yeah, no, it's better than the Ursus for sure.
yeah.
I would rather
think.
have a Bowie than both of those, especially after the change. But
I could see that argument.
you know, it's all at this point is personal
It's
taste.
preference.
Yeah, this is really nitpicking. B is hard.
Yeah, honestly.
Like, this could go any order except for I think Ursus stays at the back. It's really just what you prefer. But I could see any order of those three.
We'll keep
right
it
there.
like this for now. It really could swap in any way for
Yeah.
for the Falchion, the Flip, or the Bowie. But
If the flip had cooler animation, like a rare animation or something like that, like it would be 100% top of B, maybe even A.
yeah.
That's the only thing that holds it back for me.
All right. This one might be a little difficult to put together. We got quite a few A tier knives.
I think the Talon has to move up.
The Talon definitely moves up.
Talon has to move up.
I
I will go
the
on strike though before Bayonet leaves number one.
No,
Mm.
I think the Bayonet stays.
No, Bayonet does stay. I think I'm glad we all agree with that. The Bayonet,
Yeah.
because
The only reason the Bayonet isn't in S is because the M9 exists,
yeah.
and that's just facts.
Yeah,
Because I think the pull out animation for the regular Bayonet is arguably cooler, just because it spins. But I don't know. That's kind of personal.
Honestly,
preference.
for me, the Talon's right behind it. If in my
I
in
could
my opinion,
see that. Yeah. Next,
Yeah.
I'd have to say
maybe the
probably the
Nomad?
Nomad or the
Yeah.
Skeleton.
Yeah, I agree.
And
And then
would
maybe
the Skeleton, be
skeleton
better than
behind it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
I
like
think
the
that's-
Nomad more. I think
Is this
this.
Yeah,
the Stiletto move up or no?
No,
For
I
me,
think the Huntsman is better than the Stiletto.
the Huntsman and the Stiletto are interchangeable. So
Yeah. That's a good way to say it. I agree. I think that's pretty good for A, honestly.
I think it's good.
I think we agreed that the butterfly is not the worst, but the least.
It's
not,
just because it's so
Yeah.
so hyped. That's
is.
the only reason.
It's S tier, but it's the bottom of the 3. Right?
Listen, that should stay how it is, personally, in my heart.
So
I know what Dylan's
here's the
gonna
deal.
say.
Here's the deal.
first.
Yeah. Okay. Here's the deal. It sounds like I'm the tiebreaker here
You are.
because Matt says the Karambit should be number 1. Dylan says the M9 should be number 1.
Can I make my argument?
Yeah. Go ahead. Sure.
So, besides now the Talon existing, the Karambit was the only knife that looked like that. It was the only knife where you could spin it on your hand. It had a curved blade. It was like all the knives were, you see all the classic ones, the M9, the regular Bayo, the Huntsman, stuff like that are all big blade, normal knives. And then the Karambit was such a weird one. You held it backwards. It had a curved blade. And it was just so unique. That's why I think it should be ahead of the M9. Just because it's so unique. Now with the Talon existing, I could understand the argument for it being interchangeable. But there's a reason the Talon is not an S. That's my argument.
Okay. Dylan, what is yours for the Bayo?
The M9, bro. I mean, the serrated edges, the girth,
Yeah.
the pull out, the flip you do when you pull it out, the inspect. You just look at it. You just look at the knife. There's nothing special. There's no gimmicks. There's no reindeer games.
If I could perfectly describe the M9, it's big dick energy.
You just look at it, bro. I don't have much more to say. The knife speaks for itself.
So
The Karambit is cool.
here's my thing. All right. These are both 1A and 1B. They are fucking beasts of knives. If you pull either one of these, your day is immediately shot up. However,
Yeah.
for me personally, and because I'll look at the different finishes for both of these, and like I'm on hunt for black pearls, right? And I'll look at the black pearl for an M9 and a Karambit, and they're both insane, or anything else. For me, I think I gotta give the edge to the M9. I think it's just a little bit better, in my opinion.
I can see that.
The blade is so big.
I can understand what you're saying about the
Yeah, it's true.
the Karambit being so unique. I mean,
My
the Talon
only
coming
thing-
out.
Yeah,
but
that's my thing with the Karambit is if you show any one of these knives to a normal person that doesn't really play CS but knows of CS,
yeah,
they're just gonna think whatever, it's a knife. But if you show them the Karambit, they're gonna be like, "Oh, that's the knife from Counter-Strike." That's my thing. It's like the iconic
I
Counter-Strike.
think that about the butterfly.
yeah. I think
Crazy
that about
knife.
the butterfly too, and that's a good argument for the Karambit. But
I could see that about the butterfly, but it just looks like a normal butterfly knife that you could buy IRL.
Yeah.
Whereas, I mean, you could get a Karambit, but no, it's not really like a useful knife in real life. But it's like somebody sees that and they're like, "Oh, that's the Counter-Strike knife." You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like when I see a Karambit in any other game, I'm like, "Oh, that's the knife from CS." Or if I see an M9, it's like, well, sometimes it's a actual bayonet for a gun, or it's just a normal knife, or whatever. Like it's the knife Rambo used.
Yeah.
Like it's cool. Don't get me wrong.
The thing
it's-
about these top 3 knives is depending on who you ask, it's all going to be different.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, you hear
Right.
us arguing about it, so it's
The
the same.
thing-
It's the
See,
same.
for me, it could be either one. I think it's just I prefer the blade of the M9 just a little bit more than the Karambit. I think the serrated edges are fucking cool. I love the little hole at the top of the blade, and it's just thick, and you perfectly described it with big dick energy. The
It is true.
Karambit
It
is
is sick.
iconic, and you're correct that when people see it, it's like, oh, it's the Counter-Strike knife. You're right. But for my personal preference, I like the M9 a little tiny bit
All right.
better.
I'll
I
concede.
agree.
As a iconic CS knife, we'll give it to the Karambit, but just as a blade, I can see the M9 being better. I do kind of agree with that.
So I think that this is a great tier list. I think that this is... I'm glad we're kind of pretty much in opinion on like all of them. with very varying degree in tiny parts, but pretty much
Yeah.
I think this is exactly how
Yeah.
the
Honestly,
current state of the Counter-Strike knives would rank.
I think you could interchange some in different tiers, but I don't think really any you could really argue could go in a different tier from where they're at.
Maybe a couple, but
Like what?
maybe some from B to A or from C to B,
I don't think
maybe,
any
but
and B deserve
From A to
be an A.
B.
I could
I
see
don't
a
know.
couple
see,
knives.
like for me, I personally would put the gut in C, but I recognize its status
Black Pearl.
as D.
That's not fair.
But again, yeah, it's bias, so it's it's whatever.
Yeah. I mean, really, I think very few. Maybe I could see some arguments for like the stiletto moving down because
Yeah.
whatever, even though I don't agree, or the paracord moving up, which I definitely don't agree. But
Or if we could do
Mo-
something
overall,
like
yeah.
No. Put that back. Put it where it belongs.
Yeah.
this.
Honestly, you could make another tier that's lower and it could go down there. So I think overall though, you can't really argue. This is a pretty good tier list.
It's solid.
From people who've been playing CS since Source, at least. So
Yeah, pretty much.
This is what it should be.
For anyone wondering how invested we were into this, please watch the Gamba video from last year.
Yeah, since
Yeah.
this won't be on the same channel, I will put a link to the video in the description. It's probably one of the best videos I've ever made, I think. Like, it
It's a
tells
movie.
a whole story. It's basically a short film, and
It's a movie.
like, unironically, I've had people come up to me. It's like, yo, I watched that. I know nothing about Counter-Strike, but that was a really good video. Like, I was really
Yeah.
entertained.
I could totally see that, and I'll be the first to say that if you want a specific pattern on a specific knife out of any of these, do not try to open it from a case.
No.
If you just want to open cases for fun, then by all means, but expect all your money to be lost. If you want a
Yeah,
specific
don't-
knife,
don't-
just either buy it or do your fun unboxings and then trade for it. Don't try to unbox it. You never will fucking get it. Speaking from people who...
Except for me, I got the gloves I wanted.
That's true. You got snow leopards.
I
That
will
was
say
insane.
Dylan has to be the luckiest.
You've opened the most golds out of
He's
everybody.
opened the
in
most
here.
golds out of everyone here by a long
And they've
shot.
all been pretty good ones, except for the Shadow Daggers and the Navajas. Even the Navaja, though, was a fucking blue gem, so...
Listen, when it comes to the Gamba, you have to be dedicated.
He locks in. No one is
Yeah,
more
I
dedicated
mean-
to the Gamba than Dylan is. I think that
I don't
can't
wanna
be
look at-
disputed. Well, anyway, thank you, Wally and Dylan. Thank you very much for joining me on this tier list. Dylan, thank you for joining for the first time. Matt, thank you for coming back.
Of course.
Yep, shout out for the invite.
We might do something in the same vein sometime in the near future, depending on how this goes, or just depending on how we feel. If we can come up with a good idea. So, but this is fun. This is something I've been wanting to do for a while, actually. So I'm glad that we did it. We'll see what happens in the future if we get something. I really think that one day one of us is going to pull a gold that is astronomical, and it's going to be legendary.
100%.
So
And if you don't like this video, I'm one digging you at Mid or Mirage.